opportunity to go back and provide yourself with some advice when you were first starting out on your journey, what would that be?
Hmm. That's actually a very good question. That's a difficult one to answer because without the things that have happened to me, I wouldn't be who I am. So I don't regret even the suffering because that helped to forge what I have become and what I am becoming. If I made things all easy, that would not be a service to my own evolution. I think maybe the only thing I would say is do not believe things just because somebody you like says it. Question everything.
Yeah,
I think
that's
that would be it.
excellent. That is excellent advice. Thank you for sharing that. What are your personal views about demons and deities? Do you view them as being literal beings, or do you view them as being aspects of your own psyche?
Both. How can you do that, Dan? Someone might be asking themselves right now. Well, remembering that there is only one consciousness, we are thoughts in the mind of that one consciousness. You think you're real, don't you?
Mhm.
Why would it be different on different levels or different layers of existence? It would be the same. It's kind of like arguing over whether you call a tomato or a tomato. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Uh, and here's something that I'll add in that maybe a lot of folks haven't really heard. Uh, when you're dealing with the chakra system, or if you're dealing with anything else, whether you're dealing with the sephira, okay, depends on what you're doing. People think that when you come to the ajna, that you're dealing with an eye that opens up and sees, that you're dealing with that which projects reality. That's what's often, even in Eastern thought, put forward for the masses. But here's something that I learned from a mystic that among the gurus, they talk about the third eye being an inward facing eye. And that's because the access to everything that you perceive, whether it is perceived within or perceived without, comes from within. If you are looking without, you are denying the fact that you are part of the one. And all you're going to come up with are entities, whether they be gods, spirits, demons, ghosts, what have you, that you have created for yourself to communicate with. Okay? If you want to talk to the actual ones, you don't look without because there's nothing there that you haven't made. You look within to what made you.
Yep.
So, I don't know, people can agree or
Amazing.
disagree, but that's something that I would just say try things that way. See what the results are.
Absolutely. Through experience, you do learn that everything is within, you know, as within, so without. I mean, there's nothing, everything begins and ends with self.
And it's a concept of self as well, because I don't want folks to sit here and think that you know either you or I or anybody else here is promoting absolute narcissism.
Oh,
Okay,
no.
we're not.
No.
Okay, we're not talking about the egoic mind here. That's something that was constructed based upon things that you were told about yourself by parents, institutions, friends, family, peers, what have you, and things from your own experience that you added in there. But it's not the real you. The real you is bornless, okay? Eternal, existed before time, existed before the multiverse, because it's part of the one. That, that is the self with a capital S.
Yeah.
And yes, the egoic mind is important. Without the egoic mind, you can't enjoy anything. Without
Yeah.
the egoic mind, you can't interpret anything. And realize as well, and this is something that folks need to really understand too, whether it's stuff coming from me or anybody. There is nothing that we can receive in knowledge and wisdom that is not distorted in some way by the egoic mind.
Mhm.
It's not pure, in air quotes there, but it contains enough if, as we are ever increasing our connection, it increases in uh, the I guess I got to put it the other way around in the lessening of the distortion. But there will
Yeah.
always be a bit of a distortion there.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why we can't be dogmatic, because we're not right about everything.
Yeah.
You know, we get enough to move forward, to move, and actually, we're not really moving anywhere. We're expanding that awareness of what exists.
Yeah.
And and so, we're not talking about, people being jackasses because they call themselves
No.
left-hand path magicians or sorcerers
Yeah.
or other people like that. Some of the people that I've known on the left-hand path are far more moral and upright, so to speak, than people on the right-hand path were, because they
Absolutely.
understand they're responsible for everything they do.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Same here.
so so I just wanted to put that out there because I know somebody
Yeah.
will say something about that. A bunch of narcissists. No,
Oh,
we're,
yeah.
we're not trying to be that at all. Okay.
Yes. Yes, it's not about being a jackass, but being selfish. Yes, you have to understand yourself. You have to take care of yourself. And that way you're able to be fulfilled and approach life with a filled cup and, be there for the others around you as well. So it's not what people perceive it to be at first.
No, exactly. And what the heck are you gonna do for anybody else if your cup is as dry as a bone?
Exactly.
Uh, you know, it's something that you just can't do. It just ends up making a situation worse. But if you are filled with that sense of fulfillment that you're talking about there, then if you so deem that person worthy, which only you can do, you can actually be a help to them because you have something to give. And of course, going back to the northern mythologies, it says in the Havamal, gift always demands gain. So, in other words, what they're talking about is balance needs to be maintained. Otherwise, things just go completely off kilter. And so, when you help somebody, they will, if you are in a time of need, help you.
Yeah,
So, isn't that the basis of relationships?
absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. And it's funny that the people that call people that people like us that are connected to spirit and do the work and evolve and feel that we need to have a full cup and take the time to do that for ourselves, they consider us selfish, but um, for them asking us to put them first before we put ourselves, somehow that's not them being selfish. It's really odd to me. Them.
yes, indeed.
Yeah. But when people are on this path and they are evolving and doing the work and approaching life from a balanced full cup state, like we discussed, we can truly be there for others. But the thing is, it's not that we need things from other people so much as often as some others may, but it's that we have those people in our lives because we want to have them there and we enrich each other's experience. And I think that's really important. And like you said, isn't that what a relationship is? It is that exchange. And when somebody's cup is dipping a little bit and the other person has that full cup, they help you get to your full cup, which is, it's a simplistic way of putting it, but it gets the point across.
Absolutely. And also involved with this too is when you are making sure that you yourself are being the fullest version of yourself that you can be, because that's really what it ends up becoming. Your awareness is expanding and you are becoming more fully who you are. Okay, that also raises the consciousness of humanity on a collective level because it's putting it into that matrix, so to speak. All right, it's putting it into that collective, and that's so necessary because there's enough limiting things that are out there, things that are trying to enslave consciousness that are being put out there all the time. Turn on the television set and see what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
It's just
absolutely.
endless. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, in order to deal with that, counteract it, having people expanding their awareness and growing that way will do that. And it doesn't need to be all the people on the planet, just a certain number that reaches that tipping point.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're doing that, okay, you're actually doing a service, whether you think you are or not. And it's one of the reasons why I often, unless it's like family or something, or somebody I consider to be as family, I don't do magic for other people.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people that do, and that's fine. You know, you are there for a reason, whoever you are that's doing that, because folks may be able to break through certain hurdles that they wouldn't have otherwise. But what I prefer to do is show people how to do it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
The old adage, teach or give somebody a fish and they'll eat for a day, teach them to fish and they'll eat for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to me. I've had many people come because, of course, I'm on social media and so forth too. I don't spend my life there, but I get lots of messages. And I have, can you do magic for me for this? And I'll say, well, I'll show you how to do it yourself. And then they never come back because they weren't interested in that. They wanted the easy way.
Yeah.
And that's human nature, I suppose. But it's something that if they had said, yeah, teach me how to do that, they would have learned, if they were sincere and focused, how to start doing things like that for themselves. And then they would begin their own path of evolution. Whereas if I
Yeah.
had done that magic for them, they might have received whatever it was they were looking for, and then they would have gone off and screwed up their life more.
Yeah.
So that's just my thought and philosophy. I don't impose that on anybody,
Yeah.
but I look at it from this lens because I've seen what happens in a more extreme versions of spirituality, religion in particular. What happens to people? What happens to their relationships? What happens to their families? And the only people that I would send to them are my worst enemies. Go believe
Yeah.
everything they say. Hmm. But then
Yeah.
again, that's a story for another time.
Yeah.
And that's the fine line we all have to walk because sometimes people want to be told what to do. And when I come across folks like that, start talking about how one begins to think for themselves.
Yeah.
And that a lot of people find that frightening. Uh, and they say, "Well, no, no, what do you?" Well, when you come to a major decision in your life, think to yourself, how fearful are you about the consequences of your decision, one way or another?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Fear can also become excitement.
Yeah.
Depends on what we choose to do with it.
Yeah.
And like any adventure, because that's what this life is, there's going to be good times and hard times. But the adventure wouldn't be an adventure if it was all good times.
Absolutely.
So, I try to help people to overcome the fear and look at it from a different angle. And, yeah, you make the wrong decision. Well, you pay the price for it, like you would with anything.
Yeah.
But now you've learned something. You'll make a different type of decision next time if you've
Yeah.
learned from it,
Yeah.
right? And just look at it as a story that you are writing about yourself. That's what life is. And even if nobody else ever reads that story, you read that story. It got inputted or uploaded, so to speak, into the collective.
Yeah.
And even if you lived on a mountain, thousands of miles from any human being or civilization, if you did that, you'd still, through that upload into the collective, be advancing the entire consciousness of humanity.
Absolutely. Yes. Very deep. So, what is your Patreon content all about? What can people expect if they head over there?
Well, first of all, I'll tell you what's not there. Dogma is not there. All right. I don't go around, I have created this magical system. And if you do this, 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 and this, you will have that. No. What the Patreon community is about is three things. First of all, for the general folks that just want to support what we're doing, that's a great help. They get to have uh, audio RSS feed for our public broadcasts, which is a great help to a lot of people who especially have maybe internet problems, or maybe they're in a place where they have a hard time streaming things that are live or off of YouTube or something. So they can use any podcast aggregator, or they can be right on Patreon and download it from there. And they can download it and they can listen to it in their car or anywhere else.
Mhm.
Okay. They also get on the different levels a certain percentage of discount off of some of the tools that we create. And those tools are for the purpose of basically augmenting what I talked about in the book Transcending Keys to Power. Uh, the other thing that happens on the highest level is direct teaching. Now, the direct teaching is about the principles, how you would work that. Uh, it goes into more than just the principles, but also examples many times, whether it be runes, Kabbalah, using the planetary magics, using the Qliphoth, how you would apply that and how you'd use it. Now, I don't do this in such a way where it's spoon feeding everybody. Because one of the things, and this is vital for folks to understand, is that they need to be a bit of a self starter. In other words, if you have an interest in this, then look at different systems of magic that are out there. Read about them. Join an order if you want to. That's fine. And learn about these principles and how to work with those systems through those principles. And it will only help and augment everything in your path. And we also do group magic together. Dan, how can you do that online? They're not home, they're not with you there. Well, we do it in a very interesting way. It's not text boxes where people are abracadabra. No, 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 no. Nothing of that nature. What it is people are online in their temple space at the same time with me. And they are going through the very same things that I am doing. And we are uniting our energy together and calling forth results using the very principles that I'm talking about and teach. And the results of that, if you were to talk to my patrons, have been powerful and effective. And not just about things that deal with how we evolve either, sometimes what we would call mundane things. We had a patron in South America who lost his job and he didn't know what he was going to do. That's a pretty hard thing to experience, especially in Brazil. Okay. We did a working for him just on the fly. We were in a video chat and we did a working for him. Within 2 days, he had a job paying far more than what he had before, and his wife got one too. And they still have it, even in the midst of all the economic problems that are going on in the world right now. He's still working.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, this has happened for other people too. We did a working of healing for one person, very powerful work. We did a working to drive back some forces that were, basically, I had seen that it was going to cause some major problems, and it was confirmed by some other folks that were doing some work along the same lines as myself. And we cursed it. And actually, I had a patron leave for a month because the ritual terrified him.
Okay.
Then he came back,
Yeah.
but it was done. And I think that's what terrified him the most.
Yes.
And so we were all working magic, and we do this, all working magic in our own place, but doing so with a will to unite our energy as one. And the way that we do things here is not like traditional orders where, I am the Grand Poobah, and thou shalt do what I. Okay, no, I'm not the Pope. Okay, I'm not about to give commandments to people unless they're doing stuff to harm others in the community. If you're going to be involved in magic that, is very aggressive, that's fine and good. I do that myself sometimes if the need rises, but you don't do that to your family.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, Wolves may hunt animals and eat them, but they don't eat themselves. They don't eat their cubs. Okay.
Good point.
So, we
Yeah.
work together. But what we do is based on this concept. And I got this from the Northern tradition, actually. The people that used to go on the Viking raiding parties did not get into those long ships because somebody commanded them to do it. Now, maybe later on, prior to the full conversion of Europe, maybe at that point, because of course, divine right of kings and so on and so forth,
Mm-hmm.
they would have done that. But back in the day, when the tribes were doing various things, they went because they wanted to. They followed the chieftain or the leader of the troop or whatever because they wanted to.
Yeah.
Now, what loyalty is stronger? That which is caused by fear or by oppression, or that which is caused because they believe in it?
Absolutely.
All right, and so what I've said many times is to everybody that's there, it doesn't matter. Yes, I've studied and practiced magic for over 30 some odd years. But you know what? That doesn't mean I think I'm better than you. We are all on this boat together. And everyone, regardless of their level of experience, may end up having some revelation that helps everybody. And we should be willing to listen. I've sat down sometimes and had conversations that have changed my life. And it was a 4-year-old little kid. Okay, because they just said something, and I had to spend months meditating on it because it was profound.
Yeah.
All right, if a person is not teachable, And this is why I said at the beginning of this interview, I said, I consider myself an occultist and a student of the mysteries. If we are not teachable, we're already stalled on our path.
Mm.
Already.
Yeah.
And so as we allow that, that's what I try to foster in our patron community.
Yeah.
And it's not perfect, nothing is, but we that's what it's about. And I do put out a lot of stuff.
Yes, you do. And I make no secret that you have been a mentor to me for a very long time, and I am so grateful for that. And for a very long time, since the NRR days, I've always popped on and sought your guidance, and it has helped me tremendously. And I am a member of your patron community. It is really amazing what you put out, like the amount of stuff that you put out and help people with. If people are just starting or have been on the path for a long time, both schools, both levels, everyone will find something there. And it is true what you say. You don't sit there like the grand poobah. You are very approachable and very kind and flexible, and you are so knowledgeable, truly are. And I just want everyone to know that. And if they haven't read the Transcendent Keys to Power 1, to read it now, because 2 is coming out soon. So you'll want to be ready for that. And head on over and check out the TDP Videocast Patreon and YouTube channel, because there is a wealth of information there as well.
Thank you very much. I
Well, thank
appreciate that.
you. It's all the truth and it comes from my heart. So that's why I was extra excited to have you on, because I want everyone to hear you and know you, and if they feel pulled to that, they will really benefit from heading on over, maybe first checking out your channel and then Patreon. And there's a lot there. There's a lot to learn. Always lots to learn.
Always, always. And I try to learn every day myself. And
Me too.
it's a never-ending process. I used to say this in the NRR when I was talking about Odin's quest for immortality, and it was always about expanding endlessly, because the moment we stop, that's when we die.
Mm.
Now, of course, death is a fiction, but I'm talking about death as in the cessation of evolution for the time. And that takes things away from what we can become,
Yeah.
because what we can become, if we are part of something that is infinite, is also the evolution, something that is infinite.
Yeah.
So we just keep going.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so very much for joining me for this. It's been an honor and a pleasure to have you here.
The pleasure has been mine. Thank you.
Thank you.
And until next time, I wish you dark and wild blessings.